Noisy Pixel.
What's up, nerds? Welcome to the Noisy Pixel Podcast, a show where we talk about games, but mostly talk about ourselves. I'm your host, Brian, and today I am joined by Jacob Kavanagh.
Today, it's just us for great justice. That sounded a lot better in my head.
Yeah, Victor ghosted us. I don't know where that fucker is, but that's cool.
We're the victors now.
Yeah, we're the victor. That's good. That's good. All right, enough of that. Let's dive right in. What you been playing this past week?
I honestly don't remember because I've been playing Fire Emblem for the last 24-ish hours. I'm not quite sure. I can't focus because it's hard and it's kicking my ass. I shouldn't have picked hard classic.
Sometimes you kind of get overzealous and then you're like, oh yeah, I could totally do hard mode. It'll be fine. I'm pretty good at these games. And then it just like is totally not in the scope of what you thought it was.
It's like, yeah, I'm gonna do this.
That happened to me when I was playing that I've been mentioning it on the past like two podcasts, that rhythm game, DJ Max Respect.
Oh hell yeah.
I was like, I'm pretty good at rhythm games. I could do this 6-button game on my computer.
You fool. The first rule of rhythm games are skills between rhythm games are not transferable.
They're not transferable at all.
That's the first rule of rhythm games.
Because I was like, I've played like Stepmania and like all these other like rhythmy things. It's no problem. It'll be fine. And then I just get my ass handed to me, and I'm like, all right, that's way too many buttons, too many finger keys. Because like I would go in and I would like set my settings to what I normally have my settings to when I play like a really good. I was like, oh yeah, 2x speed, you know, okay, like all this other stuff, and then it plays like a song with like a really high BPM, and I'm like, oh shit, I don't know what I'm doing anymore. Because the way they do holds in this is interesting. Because like the UI. The hold is like a whole half of your bar, your whole screen. So you'll like press the shift bar to hold it, but while you're pressing shift, all these other like notes are inside the like overlaid on top of the hold. So you're like have to hold shift down and like click all these other things at the same time. And like I get like really like dyslexic with like notes sometimes, and so it like really trips me up.
What's going on?
Yeah, and then I'm like, I showed it to my friend who's like way better at other games than I am, and that he does better than me, but he's also like, this is really really hard, man. And I'm like, yeah, this game's really hard. But yeah, you know, no shame in starting at a lower difficulty, because that's what we did. We're like, we're just gonna go with the lowest difficulty and work our way up.
We played like 2-star
songs with 4 buttons. We're just trying to learn how to play this game.
I might go to hard casual if it takes me much longer.
I mean, it's still got the word hard in it, so you can still like kind of, you know, feel pretty proud of yourself.
I can be proud of myself for doing hard. I just don't want my folks to be unusable if they get killed, because they probably will. They have been so often.
Yeah. When you play games, like what's your approach for what difficulty to set it on the first time you boot up a game?
It depends on like my experience with like if it's a franchise
like
or that style. Yeah, genre. So if I'm on like an RPG, I'm gonna go like, let's see, I'm gonna go to hard straight away, and then we'll see how I deal with it. Because some games you find out that it's just not worth it to fight all your random encounters in hard, and you can just change the difficulty. So I might switch between like, say the game's like Caligula, or I'm playing like Persona game, and I've already gotten through the palace or the dungeon or whatever, and I need some XP. I might just switch it to like easy mode whilst I'm grinding, and then go right back to hard for the boss fights.
Yeah. Do you like it when games do that, when they like let you change the difficulty like midway through your game?
Yeah, I really like difficulty options.
Because I think I personally like it as well. Like when you're playing an RPG, it's like, especially if it's anything like story related, you know, where you're like, I want to turn up the difficulty in just particular instances where I want to challenge myself. But if I want to progress, I want to be able to lower the difficulty without having to restart the whole game.
Like I was playing, you can't switch it up on Kingdom Hearts 3, but I got that a bit later. So I jumped in straight on critical mode and got my ass handed to me. It was amazing and I loved it.
Oh, because a lot of people were saying that Kingdom Hearts 3 was really easy, right?
Yeah. And then critical mode was like, ha, shut up. And even when people were like, said, oh, critical mode was too easy. Well, we just got the Remind DLC, and those bosses are like, so I hear you wanted some difficulty. Have fun spending 3 hours learning this boss's attack patterns, because otherwise it's going to eat you.
Yeah, I can't even like conceptualize like some of those, like some games where they like, I see people play it on like the hardest difficulty. I'm just like, I can't feasibly even think of how I would play this game.
you see people like successfully doing it. You're like, okay, sure, all right, that looks simple.
Oh, and gotcha. Then, you just dodge, and then you roll.
You just dodge, roll. You at the end of the combo, you hold the R1 to get the shot lock out. Okay, cool. Now let's try this out. I'm a block once. I'm a block twice. I'm a roll. I'm gonna go and hit him in the comp, and I miss. Okay.
Yeah, you mess up like once, it hits you, and then it's just done.
Okay. It's like, yeah, I know I need to heal now, and I'm running out of, and I'm running out of HP anyway. Oh, he's got 3 attacks. I didn't learn the patterns.
Usually like you think it's like easier. It's like, oh, I just have to remember the patterns. But when you're like in the heat of the moment of it, you're just like, ah. But I guess that's kind of the cool bit of it is like when you're playing the game, you're actually feeling more immersed in the game. So your reactions get like slower. You're not thinking about it as just patterns. You're like, you just see like, a big monster and it's like, oh, it's a big monster and it's like intimidating to you.
God. I love the Remind stuff because I did like challenge runs and other in like action RPGs all the time because I'm stupid. So these things kicking my ass and there is no way I can avoid that. I mean, I can avoid it, but I can't beat these guys.
So
I was trying to beat them on like in like low 60s 70s without having to grind too much. But I need the extra defense from like 99.
So I was gonna say, last podcast you were talking, or was it last podcast or the podcast before? Last podcast I joined midway through. The podcast before where you were talking about Puzzles and Dragons on the Switch and how difficult it is. Is the Fire Emblem that you're playing right now even more difficult than that, or is it about the same?
All right. So as it turns out, with Puzzle and Dragons, I was just an idiot.
Oh yeah.
So I was like, okay, so I'm trying, with Puzzles and Dragons, it's actually not hard. You just need to move far. You need to move the, you're not trying to work out what combos you can make. It's about moving
you were trying to do it like a Bejeweled like thing where you only move one side over. Oh, that makes so much more sense, Jacob. I was like, oh yeah, you definitely play Puzzles and Dragons wrong.
So when I figured out how to play the game, it was like, okay, oh my god, I can play this now. It would have been great if the tutorial was like a bit clearer on that's how that works. Or I should have been playing, or I should have been, No,
that happened to me too. When I was watching my friends play the mobile version, and they were like, because I've only ever played like regular Bejeweled match 3 games like that, or different from that. And then my friend would like click one of the gems and drag it halfway across the screen. I'm like, that's cheating. You can't do that.
So yeah, I figured out how to play the game, and then I played the game for about 15 minutes more, and then I found out there was no more story content, and I beat it all.
That's hilarious.
And then I realized that's all the single player content in the entire game.
That's really funny.
It's like, oh my god, really, Jacob?
Anything else you've been playing?
No. What have you been playing? Have you been playing anything other than DJ Max Respect? I don't know if that's what it was called, but Max Respect for the 8 buttons.
It's called DJ Max Respect. To be honest, no, I'm still in like the process of moving and packing stuff up. So the only things I can play have been like either on a Switch or on my phone. And even then I haven't really had much time because it's just been organizing a bunch of stuff. But things that I have been playing, mobile phone wise, I've played this game called I think it's called like Block Hexagons or something like that. Block Hex or something.
Sounds like Super Hexagon. Remember that old Xbox arcade game? No,
it's called Block ! Hexapuzzle is what the name is called. It's like this like free to play like puzzle game where you get these honeycomb shapes, and you have it's kind of like they give you an empty silhouette of the puzzle shape. Like it'll give you like one big shape, and then they'll give you little hex pieces, kind of like almost like tetronymos, but with hexes.
All right.
And you basically have to figure out using the pieces they give you how to make the overall shape that they tell you to make. So if like, oh, this shape is like a giant like 4x3 hexagon shape, and you get a bunch of like these little three pieces. You got to figure out how they like shape together to make that big silhouette shape. So that one's pretty fun. And it's free to play. There's ads, but you can kind of, it's tedious, but at the same time you kind of ignore them. It's fun. Like you're on the toilet, you'll play for a couple minutes, work your brain a little. So that's one thing I've been playing. The other game that I've been playing, I brought up in the last podcast, called, I believe it's Monument Valley. Is that what it's called?
I don't know. I've never heard of this.
Yeah, it's called Monument Valley. And it's by Us Games, Us TWO Games. And what it is how they make those like impossible shapes where it's like a
like
an infinity like triangle, but it's like twisted and shit. Where like, technically the ends don't technically meet, but they should be meeting.
Is it like the Escher stairwell?
Yeah, kind of like that.
It's Escher. There's I'm loving it.
It's like those already. Yeah, those like optical illusion like shapes and stuff. And so it's kind of like a Fez style game where you can rotate, or not rotate, but it's all based on like perspective. So you have a little character and you're trying to get him from point A to point B, and you gotta rotate or move little pieces on the shape / building to change the perspective of it to make paths for your guy to like walk around. So like you gotta like really think about like how it would work as an optical illusion and like perspective in a making 3D objects in a 2D space sort of situation. That one's not free to play, but it's really worth the money. There's two games. There's Monument Valley 1 and then its sequel Monument Valley 2. I think they're like $5 on at least on Google Play where I bought them. So worth checking out. The soundtrack is really nice. It's very relaxing, and it's a really fun. If you like puzzle games and like just things that little like flex your brain a little bit, this is a game that I highly recommend. Another one that I've been playing is QuizUp, and I've been playing QuizUp before. Like I picked it up and got really addicted to it like 3 years ago, and I picked it back up again. And what that is, it's kind of like one of those, or it's a quiz. It's a PvP quiz game basically. So you challenge another person to a category. So there's like a bunch of categories. So if you
I think I've played this.
Yeah. So you're like, oh, at least I think that one's QuizUp. I'm pretty sure, if I'm right.
All I know about, there was this one PvP quiz game that like a hairdresser told me about.
Yeah, so this QuizUp, and then QuizUp is the one where you'll like pick a category. Like say you're an expert at like League of Legends or something like that. You can go into that category and PvP random people from around the world to see if you can answer the questions, like more correct answers in the shortest amount of time as versus the other person. So like they'll put one multiple choice question on, and you and the other person will submit your answers. And depending on who submits their answers faster, you get more points. Obviously, it also has to be the correct answer. Otherwise, you don't get anything. But if both of you don't know it, then it just moves on to the next question and nobody gets points. So I'm playing that. I'm a really like big Disney nerd. so I like doing the Disney one and just stomping people.
Yeah, you got to know all that knowledge, like, how many minutes into The Lion King was the stampede?
I feel like I don't know if it'll go into that amount of detail. It's quite possible. It's more like just like quick things like, oh, what's the name of this dwarf? And they'll show a picture of the dwarf or something. or what they'll show like a picture of a Disney ride, but like only part of it, and be like, what ride is this?
Just so you know, the dwarf's name is Thorin. What? We're not talking about the Hobbit? No? Oh, okay.
Just that one dwarf's name. Which dwarf? There's so many dwarfs. Oh, but in the Hobbit, there's only the one dwarf, isn't there?
In the Hobbit, there's only one Hobbit. There's like 13 other dwarfs.
That's right. The Hobbit is the one where it's a bunch of dwarves, and then it's Bilbo and Gandalf, and then they go fight Smaug. That's the Hobbit.
That's the Hobbit.
Obviously, my Lord of the Rings trivia is not very good. Don't at me. Don't hate me. But yeah, so that's me. But moving on. Let's go into, since it's Valentine's Day, I thought it would be fun to talk about, you know how there's always like a bunch of games where they have like romance options and stuff. Besides those like visual novels. Obviously visual novels is one of them, but I mean like those other games where it's a different genre of game with just like a side option to romance people, or where the romance is not like the main I guess I wanted to get your thoughts on just like romance options in those types of games in general. Like, do you like them? Do you not like them? Is it if you don't feel either which way about it?
It's all about that execution. It really just comes down all about that execution. I mean, well, I brought up Fire Emblem earlier, so why not bring it up again?
Mm-hmm.
We got some there was the whole, since supports were added in actually no, it's not since supports were added, because it was Fire Emblem 4 that actually introduced marriage.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and that game was just like, hey, ship them. You want to ship these characters? Ship them. They have a kid. The parents do die later, but you know, that's not important. Actually, that is important. That's halfway through the game.
Does it affect the gameplay at all, the romance options, or is it just kind of like a flavor, like role play sort of situation?
Oh no, like there's not much in the way of detail in FE4, but like you ship two characters together, they'll have a kid. You carefully like ship the whole cast together, right? And then all the parents die halfway through because the main bad guy drops a gazillion meteors on them, and then you spend the rest of the game playing as the kids.
I see. So that's kind of cool though. So you get to play with the kids that you helped make. That's kind of nice. That's kind of cool, I guess.
We've got stat modifications, and the different bloodlines give them access to different holy weapons. Mm-hmm. Someone should not be making warrior children. Otherwise, I think it would have been closer to like properly the GBA games where you got your proper what we know as support conversations that would allow you to actually ship two characters together, where they'd have some neat conversations and there'd be a bit of development. Sometimes the development was definitely inverted commas, and then there'd be an end pairing. And then we got to Awakening, and Awakening and Fates are just like, marry them to each other.
So you were saying romance options are good in video games when they're executed correctly.
Sometimes.
What
Fire Emblem is actually not one of them, honestly.
What would you count as like a good execution? Like what are your expectations for a well executed like romance option in a video game? Like what do you expect to be able to do? Like do you expect it to like alter the gameplay, or just have be like a side thing for fun? Do you want it to be like a well-rounded story, stuff like that?
Now that I'm thinking about it, the only good romance options in video games have just been... The only ones I could think of have been visual novels, and it's been when the romance is not the main point. I'm looking at Ever 17. That's the only one I can think of right now where I actually enjoyed and went, hey, I like this romance. But then, that's not really optional, isn't it? Shizen. What's a good optional romance? Persona? Maybe.
So I want to list a couple of games, and I want you to tell me whether or not you think. Well, first you'll tell me if you've played it, and then second you'll tell me how you feel about the romance option for that game. So we got Dragon Age Origins. I feel like that's one of the first, like, or not the first game, but one of the ones that like comes to mind when people think of a romance option in a video game. And I think for that one,
I've heard of it. I've heard of it. That's it. That's where that's where my knowledge ends.
Gotcha. How about the Mass Effect series? That's another one that also comes up when it comes to romantic options in video games.
I played Mass Effect once. The first one. Once. I barely remember anything.
How about Stardew Valley, Jacob?
Okay, Stardew Valley. There we go. Okay, yeah, Stardew Valley and Harvest Moon.
Yes.
Those sort of games where it's like, hey, add a little romance in the middle of your cute farming simulator. This is good. This is the extra one. I can go for this one.
Yeah, because I like how Stardew Valley does it for a couple of reasons. So one, it's like, as you're saying, it's not the main part of the game. You know, you're just there to like farm, but it's also a simulation game, which I think is nice that they tack on that you can like have relationships with people and then like get married and stuff. So I always thought that was super cool as like a little tack on thing, and it doesn't really like like it's not a real big portion of the game, but it's kind of like a little nice little add on to it.
Yeah, it's been on the other nice little add-ons. I think all the games I can currently think of that I like are just visual novels when then somehow it's like that's kind of defeating the purpose of what we're doing here. And then in things like Persona, I generally don't really care about them too much.
Do you think?
Wow.
Do you think it would be good if like games like Mass Effect and all that, like more like mainstream games that aren't like where the gameplay isn't necessarily for romance options and stuff, if they like took cues from like visual novel games and made it more of an expansive like dialogue system and like have more choices on like how you interact with characters and things like that. Do you think that's just like a nice addition to like any game, or is it, because I know a lot of games they tend to like put it in just for the sake of putting it in, you know, where some of it is just very like, oh, do you want to fuck characters? That's in there. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean,
there's no purpose for it, you know, at all, other than
like in Azure Lane as well. That's another one I can immediately think of. That's just like get 100 bond points and you can just marry your ship girl.
Mm-hmm.
That's how that works.
Yeah, or like God of War, where you could just be like, "Do you want to sleep with these like
Jesus Christ
characters? Go for it," you know? Like,
all right. I don't feel like that's romance.
It's not. No, I'm just saying, like where they just put like these stupid like options in for like no reason.
Oh yeah. What I've worked out is this. I was actually very underprepared for this topic. I thought I'd be prepared because I'm used to visual novels, and now I'm realizing that's a lot of the times that's the entire point.
Right, because the whole point of visual novels is just to romance somebody. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I take offense to that particular statement, but I didn't properly explain my own point correctly. But those are games in which it's the main focus. Mm-hmm. Putting it in additionally, it really depends on what else you've got going for it. And honestly, I just can't think of ones that I really like.
Yeah, I don't think there's any that I've like really done a.
If you want to I guess if you want a romance game, you want an actual romance game. You don't want a romance game with side elements or something that's already just about cute and sweet stuff like your simulators.
Or I guess if like the game itself is like you're being immersed in like an RPG, for instance, you know, like you're already immersed in being your character and like doing all this stuff. So like, let's say like Skyrim, where they let you marry somebody and things like that. I feel like those are the types of games where that option, if done well, could add a whole lot to the experience.
I think actually Fire Emblem Three Houses has it slightly better than other ones, just because you've got one romance option depending on like that you get to pick out, and because it happens like super late game, it feels like you've been rewarded.
Mm-hmm.
there's like a reward for like you persevering through these trials, inverted commas. It's like, hey, you got this person up to rank S level stats or whatever. Yeah. Then they lived through the story and you beat up the Seeker of Darkness. Disclaimer, there's no actual Seeker of Darkness in Fire Emblem Three Houses. But that's like essentially icing. But I'm realizing now I don't jump into games for romance.
Yeah, neither do I.
I'm just a single solitary snail who accidentally ends the world every now and then.
I think what would make some romance options in games good is one, the fact that you can fail. I feel like you should be able to fail your romance options in video games. Otherwise, it's kind of just like it doesn't feel challenging and it doesn't feel like you really earned anything in this instance of where it was like, oh, let me just give you like a bunch of gifts until you like me and then we'll your romance now,
Take all of these feathers and flowers and let me love you.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, here's a bajillion bears, we're cool now, right? I bought you 6,000 bronze swords, are we cool?
Are we cool?
I think having options between multiple romanceable characters would be cool, and then having to choose, because I know not Dragon Age. Was it Dragon Age? I know Witcher 3 has you can only choose one or the other, and you can't romance both or else they'll hate you. I think the same is also in Dragon Age, where if you try to romance multiple people, they don't like it. Some of them they let you romance both. I'm not sure. It's been a while.
Persona, I know Persona 3 is all like you have to date all the girls to max out their like social links, and it's like, hold up, I don't want to be a cheater. What the hell, game? And then Persona 4 is just like, you can date them all, but but you don't have to date them all. And then you find out that if you did date them all, there's a lovely little Valentines thing where you have to actually let all the other girls down. It's like sweet vengeance on all players who act like dicks.
Yeah.
If in Persona 5, if you romance multiple characters, that they all appear, all the ones you romanced appear on Valentine's Day, and they beat you up and leave you in the dirt or walk off.
That's pretty great.
If you romance, but you do get like all the you still manage to get like all these like special items from the chocolates.
Mm.
They did add it. There's a little amendment in P5 Royal coming out next month, which has it just so like if you don't date them all, you still get the rewards. If you max out if you become really good friends, you just get friendship chocolates from everyone. As it turns out, being a faithful human being is the way to go. Instead of being being a decent human being is a good thing.
More games need to have the romance option where you could just romance any character, regardless of what gender your character is and what gender the other character is. I feel like there's too many where there's just like very limited where you only can romance these, but then you can't romance those. I think that was cool about Dragon Age. I think Dragon Age let you romance either. Like I think there were some like bisexual romances and stuff in there as well. Which I thought was neat. Like, give people the option.
And there's a couple of same-sex options in Three Houses, but they actually really tone them down, like the language down. It's like, hold up, like in the Japanese to English, they really toned down some of the same-sex romance dialogue, and it's like, hold up, excuse me,
yeah,
I've got JP voices on. She absolutely just said my beloved, not best friend.
Censorship. Yeah, no censoring romance. You can't censor love.
Love knows no check.
It's all just pixels anyways. I mean, come on, let me romance it. It's pixels that happens to look like a guy. All right, moving on. let's move on to get to know your pixels. And on the theme of Valentine's Day, candies and chocolates and stuff like that, I want to ask Jacob, what's your favorite candy or like brand of candy or brand of chocolate or whatever?
This is a very difficult question.
I guess for Valentine's, we can narrow it down. Like, do you have a favorite chocolate, like brand of chocolate or type of chocolate?
I think my favorite chocolate might be like the Dream white chocolate stuff.
Mm.
I don't know, that's that Cadbury thing.
Oh, okay. Yeah, like Cadbury white chocolates.
Yeah.
Those are pretty good. I do.
That's my very simple descriptor. I like white chocolate because it's sweeter. I like sweet things.
Mm. Do they have Ferrero Rochers in
they absolutely.
Australia?
Oh, okay. Those Nutella chocolates are pretty damn good.
Yeah, where it's like the outside's a chocolate and nuts, and then it's like got a wafer sphere in the center, and inside that wafer sphere is just Nutella.
Yep, it's just Nutella. You think my Ferrero Rochers are so fancy and expensive, but it's like they put Nutella inside your hazelnut chocolate.
It starts with the core of a nut wrapped in Nutella, wrapped in a wafer sphere, wrapped in chocolate.
Did you know? Did you know that it's actually much cheaper to just make your own discount Ferrero Rochers than it is to actually just buy them?
I believe it.
You don't even need to spend that much. Just buy some Nutella. I feel like
you're paying the premium for like the wrapping.
you're paying a premium for wrapping.
Yeah, like if you're like, oh, it's the gold wrapper and the little
get some
paper basket.
Get some nuts, get some Nutella on that stuff. Pour some chocolate over the top of them. Put them in a mold and you're set.
Can you imagine if like you don't even make Ferrero Rochers, but you just like the taste of Ferrero Rochers? So you just put all the components on like a spoon and just eat it.
I mean, it's cheaper.
Nutella, some chocolate chips, some nuts, and then a little bit of like wafer crumble, and then just spoon that in your mouth. You're basically eating pre-chewed Ferrero Rocher.
Look at that. See, Noisy Pixel here out to save you money.
Give that to your significant other on Valentine's. See how they react.
I mean, think about it. If you might get extra points because like you made it yourself.
Just call it deconstructed Ferrero Rocher. Just make it sound fancy.
just put all the components together in a small
5 stars. Yeah, just plate it real nice and it'll be good.
Put all the ingredients in a spherical mold, so it's just a reconstructed Ferrero Rocher.
Yeah.
And it's homemade.
Deconstructed Ferrero Rocher.
It's homemade and you put effort into it.
Exactly.
Look at that. It's the thought that counts.
That's our Valentine's Day advice. If you haven't done, this is going to come out after Valentine's Day. So,
it's Valentine's Day right now for me.
You've got a whole year to use this for the next time. All right. Well, to end things off, we're going to do our thing where we give a game shout out of the week. We're going to shout out a game that's came out recently or is coming out that we just want, to have you guys take a look at, and because we think it's cool and we want to share that with you guys. You want to go first, Jacob?
Why don't you go first?
I will go first. So there's this game called Snack World, the Dungeon Crawl Gold. It's a really long title, so it's like an Asian.
That's really not long at all.
Yeah, so it's made by
2.9 HD Final Chapter Prologue.
So this game is on the Nintendo Switch. It's like an adventure, like dungeon crawl, hence the title, like Diablo-esque type style game. But the reason I wanted to highlight it is because it's part of this like multimedia franchise, and this is like the first time like something for it is coming to the West, I think. So it has like an anime and like a toy line and all this other stuff. And so now there's a game that's coming out to the Switch, or came out to the Switch. No, coming out. It comes out Valentine's Day. So if you don't have
Valentine's, comes out today, unless the European release date is tomorrow. Who knows?
But it's like, it's really cute. You like make your own little character, like very chibi style. People are saying it kind of looks like Fantasy Life, but other people are like the gameplay's not Fantasy Life-y at all. But you make your own little like RPG like fantasy character with his like hairstyle and like head shapes and whatever. And you just go around, you like hunt monsters and recruit people to your team, like a la Pokemon style, I think. Um, I don't know too much about the game. It just seems really interesting. And I wanted to shout it out mainly because I feel like we should support more of these games coming to the West so that they're encouraged to keep doing it.
It looks pretty cute anyway.
And it looks pretty cute. So that's my shout out.
Okay. And my shout out is I'm going to be super scrubby because I don't really know I don't know games, I say. What? I'm going to shout out Yakuza 3 Remastered. Came out a couple of days ago because 60 FPS Yakuza 3 on your TV.
Oh, so beautiful.
That should be all you need because it's just Yakuza.
Yeah, the Yakuza games are great. They're so good.
But with extra eye candy.
Mm-hmm.
And
so for those, sorry, I was gonna say for those unfamiliar with Yakuza, it's a like a beat 'em up game, where you play as members of the Yakuza, basically. But the stories are like really good, and it gets really quirky and campy at times. Yeah, continue, Jacob. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
I mean, the main character for like all of them, sort of. Because I haven't played Zero yet, but like Majima is like one of the playable characters in Zero, isn't he?
I'm not sure. I don't know if I played Zero either.
Okay, you don't even know if you played Zero, so you probably haven't.
Yeah, I don't think I have then.
But yeah, you play as your former Yakuza member, Kazuma Kiryu, and watch him beat up the crime world to be the most wholesome dad in the universe.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. That's what we really need. He's the best protagonist. He's not the best, but he's a pretty damn good protagonist, and everyone should play Yakuza. I need to play more Yakuza games. I still haven't played Zero, like I just said.
Yeah, I played 6. 6 is so good. You just have a baby and you have to protect this baby with your life. It's great. But you also like do things like go to internet cafes and look at adult videos and stuff like that, which is really funny.
Please don't look at them, but you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, so God, have you seen that pre-release stuff for like Yakuza 7?
No, I haven't. It
looks amazing. It's a turn-based RPG.
Oh, interesting. That's a change up.
Wow. Yeah, it's beautiful. The turn-based RPG protagonist really likes Dragon Quest.
Huh. Interesting. I wonder how good that would be. Because whenever you think of Yakuza, you think... No, go ahead.
So you've got like party members, and you can like switch into different... You can go to a talent agency, and you can switch your job classes.
Ah,
you've got like a riot police job because you got that's your like your paladin sort of thing with the armor.
Yeah.
And then you got like one of your main characters can be like an idol, and she can just summon rabbit fans to attack people.
Oh, that's awesome! I like it. I might check that out.
And then some characters have super over the top boss openings, which are absolutely worth checking out if you haven't. Yakuza 7 looks like it's going to be the greatest game.
I think that's great that they're like
play 3
because Yakuza is a very like over the top game. So I'm glad that they're like they keep leaning into it for the 7, or they keep it quirky and stuff. I like that.
It's so good. But I think that's...
I want to do one last shout out. Normally we do 3 game shout outs because Victor is on here and stuff. I want to do one more shout out because I saw some trailers and stuff for this game called Daemon X Machina. It came out on the Switch end of last year, but now it's making its way to PC. So it's going to be awesome for people who have big, powerful machines. But what it is, it's a action, like Gundam-esque mech game where you get in like this mobile suity mechanoid robot thing, and you just start fighting other giant ass robots, and like with a bunch of like ridiculous artillery and shit. It's developed by Marvelous, which I really like. They make a lot of really cool games that are fun, and published by XE Games and Marvelous USA, which always makes good. At least for me, I enjoy what they produce. Their Senran Kagura series is very enjoyable. So yeah, that's my other shout out.
All right, I didn't prepare another shout out. So
no, you didn't. We just wanted to do the 3. All right. Well, I think we've been talking it long enough. So I'm just gonna close out saying thank you guys for listening. Oh, actually, final announcement. This has been episode 50, and for episode 50, the reason it's even more special now is we found out that we're Metacritic now. Hooray! Hooray, Jacob!
You can now check out excerpts of our reviews.
Now our reviews actually do stuff to the Metacritic score.
Hell yeah!
But yeah, so if you liked what you heard here, or if it's not enough gaming content for you and you want to hear stuff or read more stuff about video games, be sure to check out noisypixel.net. There's tons of gaming content on there, from news, reviews, interviews, previews, tons of stuff. Check those out. And we're also on YouTube. All of our reviews and things have video content attached to it. So if you don't want to spend time reading through the entire article, we usually do like a 2-3 minute video that basically is the entire review summed up, which this podcast is also on.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. So thanks again for listening, you guys. If you have any comments for us that you know want to shout out to us, comment below on the YouTube version, or you can reach out to me via email at brian@noisypixel.net. And we'll see you next week.